thing, and it creates this effect in awareness. It's through consciousness that's transcendental and transcends linear space-time. And one of the things we're doing with the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence, CSETI, CSETI.org, is that we're training people to do this. So I actually, before I was a medical doctor, I was a Sanskrit. I used to teach people Sanskrit and meditation and the Vedas. And since we're on the World Puja Network, and of course I do pujas, which are Sanskrit ceremonies using mantras. And so what I found was that there is this direct connection between consciousness and understanding consciousness and being able to make contact, which is why your friend Max Poggi, you and my friend Max Poggi, he has a state of consciousness that is pure-hearted and clear, and I think that's why these ET craft keep being seen around him. And I think that what I have found is that people can learn to do this, and we now have trained thousands of people from every continent who are now going out, and we're just getting unbelievable reports from contact people are having. And this bypasses this very powerful secretive group, because basically it's power to the people. It's citizen diplomacy. And this is what people don't understand, is that we each as individuals have the whole cosmology, the whole universe folded within us, and there's more power within each individual who comes to that state of understanding than they can imagine. And that's why I tell people to empower themselves with this knowledge and then do it, rather than sitting back in a depressed mode saying, oh, these people are so powerful, because in my view, they're a paper tiger. I'm not saying that they're not real, but they have the power we've given them, and we've given up our power, and we need to take it back, not only for disclosure and these energy systems, for contact, because the ETs are wanting there to be people who are willing to do this in a way that understands transdimensional reality, higher states of consciousness, non-linear communication systems, and to do this within the paradigm of universal peace and world peace, rather than let's see if we can steal their technologies or shoot one down, which is unfortunately the tragic thing, is that in the modern era since World War II, that has been the only quasi-official government response, is either to chase them, shoot at them, or try to capture them. Well, this is a completely backward, caveman-like Neanderthal response to these very advanced civilizations. And I always tell people, who say, oh, aren't you afraid to go out into the stars in remote locations and make contact? I said, oh, no. I'm scared of what? I said, if these civilizations were hostile, given the fact that they have the means to travel faster than the speed of light, and have been visiting this planet for centuries, if not millennia or longer, if they were hostile, it would be all over. I mean, all they'd have to do is just shut the whole system down, and they could do it in a nanosecond. So the fact that we've been here shooting at them and doing all this crazy stuff, and they have not retaliated in kind, it indicates to me that they're not only very enlightened, but incredibly patient and wise, and incredibly restrained, because I have too many reports of weapon systems that have been trained. I have a man who is an Air Force officer down near MacDill Air Force Base in Florida, where he described this huge horseshoe-shaped electromagnetic pulse weapon. And back when some of the Gulf Breeze events were happening down there, they would turn that thing on, hooked to a satellite, and when they would pick up one of these ET craft, they would hit it with a directed electromagnetic pulse beam that would knock them down. As soon as they materialized out of trans-dimensional space-time into linear space-time, three-dimensional space-time, they would lock onto them and hit them. And he says they would drop into the ocean and they'd go retrieve them. This is recent history. And so if I had one person who was a military officer recounting these things, but I have dozens of them, and it goes back all the way to at least Roswell and probably before. So what I'm saying is that we need to find a more peaceful response that's more enlightened, and that's a key part of what has to happen. And I just want to remind people, we're going to be in Orange County, California, doing a 3-day training for people there in February, and the information for that is at CSETI.org. And those dates are February 18th, 19th, and 20th. And then we're also going to be doing a whole week retreat on Marco Island, Florida, March 6th through 12th. And that's going to be limited to 15 people, but it's going to be a wonderful retreat, and the information is at cseti.org for that as well. And then in Colorado, we're going to be in your state, Paula, in
Crestone, right?
Yeah, June 26th to the July 2nd. And then we're going to be back in the crop circles in England, July 24th to the 31st for a week. We hope to have Colin Andrews join us there and a number of other folks. And then we'll be at Mount Shasta August 28th to the 3rd, and then again Joshua Tree October 30th to the 5th. So we'll do a few of these next year, and the people are invited to come. And what I think people have to understand is that this is where you can become a citizen ambassador to the universe and not let the intelligence community and these classified programs call the shots. Now, it doesn't mean that they're still not operational. They are, but we're operational also. And the images, we have these wonderful third-generation night scopes that are hooked to digital cameras now. The phenomena we're getting, the contact we're getting is almost unbelievable. Up to and including about a little over a year ago, an extraterrestrial ambassador from the Andromeda Galaxy that materialized right outside our circle that we photographed. And I think that what people have to understand is that the ETs are increasing their level of contact with people who understand the paradigm of conscious reality and how to make contact. The technology issue is the hardest nut to crack because so many people who do know these sciences end up being threatened or pulled back into the beast when they start to emerge. However, one of the things that's happened, and this is something that I don't think I've told you about, Paula, in the past few months, I got a file of several thousand documents, some of which are hundreds of pages, that is digital, on a digital disk, that is from a man who worked with a CIA guy whose job it was to go around the world and confiscate these type of energy devices. And it has the diagrams, the seized patents. It has all this information. It's a treasure trove. And what we want to do is put a group of scientists together in a laboratory that we have security around and control and begin to build these systems up. We have no doubt it can be done. We don't yet have the funding, but, I mean, we have a proposal for about a $5.7 million initial sort of modest grant, but no one on my team has that kind of money, and so we're asking if there's anyone out there who knows of an institution or person who can do it. We've got some of the most brilliant scientists in the world who understand this physics, and we have the detailed plans to do it, but it's going to take a serious, secure facility, well-equipped and well-run and project-managed to do this. I think it can be done. In fact, I know it can be done. But we're going to have to pull together to do it. And that is the next step because as I see it, somewhere between, 50 to 70%, depends on the poll of the public now know we're not alone. More than two-thirds of the public believe we're not alone in the universe in studies and polls. And so in that sense, whether there's official disclosure or not, it's a process because there are more and more governments doing that. What we need to talk about now is continuing the momentum of disclosure, but also having people make contact and the people come together and bring out these energy and environmental solutions that are really at the core of the secrecy, because that is exactly what has to be done if we're going to go on to the next chapter in human civilization, because we cannot do it burning coal and digging up stuff out of the ground and burning it, and oil and all of this. And so it is a transformative moment, and it's a huge challenge. It's certainly the biggest transformation in the known recorded history of the human race that we're faced with. And I'm not sure that the political class has the guts to do it, but I think the public does, and that's why I keep saying if we the people come together, we can do it.
We have a lot of faith in the people like Gene Roddenberry did in the book The Last Conversation by Yvonne Fern. He talks about the people and how, the human being, if given this challenge, will come through. And what you're saying, Stephen, is the marriage of consciousness with science. The science you're talking about will save the planet, the ecology, and the consciousness, the development of consciousness, which really is the overall human being. The intelligence and the consciousness will be the thing that will change the order. that will be the point of contact with these civilizations. And you're way ahead in that you're seeing us as galactic citizens, as members of this galactic neighborhood, which we should have been a long time ago. I don't know, it's taken us years to get it together. And having faith in human beings gives me some hope, because often as a researcher, kind of doing the grunt work, I get very discouraged.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to look at the glass half full and go. I tend to want to be a person that's looking at the potential and not of where we can be, rather than just stirring around the darkness of the current problems, because, as Einstein said, no problem has ever been solved by the level of consciousness that created it. So we have to bring a whole new vision to this, and the vision has to be one of a peaceful world civilization going into space peacefully with these new technologies in a just macroeconomic order, so that we eliminate the poverty in the world. This is all doable. And interestingly, if you really study this issue, like you were talking about, going all the way back to Marconi, going all the way back, the potential for this has really been around for 100 years. And this is what, in a way, people get very frustrated when they hear that. But I said, in a way, it's a very promising thing, because what that means is that everything we need to know is already here on Earth. All the science, all the technology, the consciousness, it's all here. We've just got to put it together and move it forward as the operational paradigm. Right now, it's sort of on the fringe, but it needs to move as the operational paradigm. And that's been the problem, is that there are so many powerful interests that haven't wanted to see that happen, that they keep stopping it, and they're very skillful at stopping it. But I think that's what, to me, this existential struggle is about transformation. And you cannot let the bastards grind you down, as you two said in the song, as Bono said in the song. You just kind of have to keep moving forward, and knowing that the winds of the universe are blowing in our sails, that basically this is the direction that the cosmic forces want it to move in, and the extraterrestrial beings want it to move in. But they're not going to land on the White. It's like when Larry King asked me, well, why don't they land on the White House lawn? I said, well, why? They'd just be blown out of the sky with a missile or worse. This is a process that is about consciousness and our taking action. And usually the last people to kind of move in a direction like this are your hidebound academics and your political and moneyed classes. It's us ordinary people, and I put myself very much in that category, who really come together, create a field effect in mass consciousness, and move in that direction together. And that's when we do that, that's when the magic happens, and that's what we have to come together and do, in my opinion.
Well, your Rio Rico event is in my brand new book, which is called, it's my last exopolitics book, by the way, because I'm moving on. It's called Exopolitics, Stargate to a New Reality. And since I've developed some protocols for exopolitics, one of them is the contact. And for me, the CSETI protocol is the only one that works. And, I was at Rio Rico. I covered that story. It's in my book. With all the testimony of pilots, and I do very much the same thing as Leslie Kean did in her book, and get all the testimony of these pilots and astronauts and people involved. Because my theory, Stephen, is that 100 years from now, some students in a university are going to go to the library, and they need the first-hand witnesses. They don't need gossip. They don't need internet. They need the word-for-word interview of the first-hand people. And I've provided that for them in my books, because that's all I do. I just do that part and get really their wonderful testimony.
Right. Well, thank you for doing the work you're doing. It's been wonderful, and it's been really a great pleasure to know you over the years and to work together. And I hope to see you again soon. We're about out of time here for this interview. It's already been an hour. It's hard to imagine. We have to do this again, Paula.
Yeah, I'll see you again. I usually see you once or twice a year. For the people that want to know about the 1945 crash, it's another one of those witness testimonies, and it is on my website and in my new book.
Well, why don't you give them your website?
Okay, it's www.Paola, because I'm Italian, PaolaHarris.com, and my website has all the breaking news. including that group that's meeting in Saudi Arabia on June 23rd, and you must have heard about that.
Oh, I thought it was January 23rd.
January, I'm sorry,